Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, click on the thumbs up button, turn on the notifications, tell a friend. We lost. We lost to the Milwaukee Bucks 113 to 109. The Bucks had just lost 8 out of their last 9 games. 3 minutes into the game, Giannis gets injured and has to leave the game and go out of the game. We're ahead with a minute 30 left in the first quarter, 30 to 12. We're ahead. By the end of the first quarter, with our bench in, it's 30 to 21. So they, got right back in the game. And it's just hard to handle. And they played a zone. The zone was the key. They played a zone, and we don't have anybody that can shoot the ball. And it just was frustrating. We don't know how to. JB admitted. So JB said it was on me to help the guys move more against the zone, and he's exactly right. Cade should have been at the free throw line. We should have had better spacing. We're all crumbled up. We had 8 turnovers in the fourth quarter. And it was just disastrous. Their zone wasn't that great. Special Case said it was one of the best zones he's seen. Well, it was because of one of the best zones he's seen because our offense was so crappy with no spacing. And we depended on the clutch time to have Karis LeVert in there. And he was 1 for 10 and 1 for 8 on threes. And he got the shots in the fourth quarter. And, Daniss, we start Daniss. We're all fired up about Daniss, and I was too. I'm not saying anything about you guys, but he was terrible last game, and he's got confidence, but he just keeps jacking it. By halftime, he was 1 for 5, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 1 turnover. That was his halftime, and we still play him, and yeah, it's just a lot of frustration right now. But we just have to know how to play against the zone. We have to have players out there that can play a zone. And then we get Duren fouls out. Stu gets kicked out for being not very smart. Isaiah Stewart, we all love you, Isaiah Stewart, but you just got to be smarter. You just can't, I know that's your edge that you play with, the macho that you play with, the toughness you play with is a big part of our team. But you can't be stupid and get kicked out of the game, which, you let stupid Bobby Portis, who took a cheap shot and hit you in the face and then went after you, and then you just bit right into it. You already had a technical, and, Stu drove in for a layup. He got smashed, no call, and so he goes after the ref. He gets 1 technical. Well, and then Portis wasn't even playing good until he got when he got the technical, and then we lose Stu, and then Duren's in foul trouble. Duren fouls out. He hardly plays, so we couldn't, Yeah, it's just a lot of frustration, and my guy Cade Cunningham, you can get sick and tired of me saying his shot's flat. His 3-point shot is flat. He can't shoot. He'll never be consistent shooting the 3. I went down to the game the other night, and you can really see it when you're there in person, but you can see it also on TV. And he shot the last 3 that could have tied it. He stepped back, airballed, but he keeps on practicing. You keep on practicing shooting flat, Cade, it's still going to be flat. And so, you can make him, when nobody's guarding you in warm-ups before games, I get down there to watch him shoot before the game, and he still shoots flat. And so, he's 1 for 7 on threes, 5 for 15 from the floor, but he can't attack. He can just force his way against man-to-man. But against the zone, there's 2 guards on top of the zone that they're pinching you, so you got to go against those. And then you got another guy waiting for you. So, and then you got 5 guys. You're playing 1-on-5 when you're trying to attack a zone when you're bringing the ball up. So, we got to move him off the ball. We got to get the ball to him in the middle of the court and see what we can do. But, yeah, we got outscored in the fourth quarter, 35 to 23. And, they made some big shots, and they had a couple players that really made big shots and shot really well for them. And, we left AJ Green. He made like a whole bunch of threes. 90% of his shots are threes, and he made it. But before I get into much more about the game, I just wanted to quickly talk about Giannis. So the news breaks today at like 3 o'clock that Giannis wants to be traded. Well, he didn't say that, but he's mad. He took all this stuff about the Milwaukee Bucks off of all the social media. So what do you think he wants? And so the truth is, I've said this, the Bucks and Giannis were stupid not to have tried to trade him last year or even the year before. They had nothing to work with. They had nothing to trade. They mortgaged their future. They're paying Damian Lillard millions of dollars not to play just so they could have got Miles Turner. But Giannis, they should have traded him. They could have got more for him. He's got 1 year left only on his contract guaranteed. And now he's going to be able to pick where he goes because no one's going to trade them a bunch of players and picks for a guy that's got only 1 year left unless he wants to be there, so they know that he will sign an extension. So he has said that he wants to play in New York. He said that, and they try to negotiate with New York, but I don't know that New York has enough, that would be good for the Bucks. And the Bucks, you could try to be nice to your players. That's cool, but you got to, they got a chance, they got one golden ticket to trade Giannis. My fear is the Atlanta Hawks could get him. So the Atlanta Hawks could trade him Trae Young, and then they got that first round pick unprotected from the Pelicans. And so that could be the number one pick. But there's at least 4 studs in the draft coming up, at least 4 that would be unbelievable for the Hawks to get. And they already are playing great without Trae. And so you add that, and they could trade a bunch of picks with Trae, and maybe they'll have to trade Ricochet or at least one young good player. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But other than that, the only teams that should be able to get him are the Rockets have enough assets. The Spurs are really a team that could get him. And the team that could get anybody they want in the world is Oklahoma City. They got like 2 lottery picks probably next year, a whole bunch of lottery picks in the next 5 years, and because of the trades they made. And yeah, they just have a good team. Then there's the other news in the NBA was that Chris Paul got released by the Clippers, which was a team that he played for and had lots of success with, and this was supposed to be his last year. His family lives in Los Angeles, but I guess him and Ty Lue weren't talking for weeks, and it just was a terrible situation. And Chris Paul is known to be tough and speak his mind, and so it's been sad and disappointing that he had to go out that way. But sad night that Cade was the first player of the month for a Piston in 18 years. And then JB got coach of the year. And Cade didn't play like the player of the month, and JB didn't coach like coach of the month tonight, but they had a great month. And the month even actually included the end of October and November. So, yeah, one big play was Tobias had like a breakaway, and AJ Green, who's a non-athlete, was back on defense, and Tobias blew the layup, and it kicked out, and then they got a 2-on-1 and a dunk. And so it went from us having 2, so it was a 4-point play in the split second right in the fourth quarter when we needed things. But, yeah, Stu, like I said, he got that one technical, and then he let Portis bait him into another technical, and, he thinks he's tough, but you're not tough when you lose the game. But, well, let me go back. So maybe he didn't lose the game, hurt us to lose the game, because B-Ball Paul, who JB will not play. JB will not play unless he has to, unless he has no choice. So B-Ball Paul goes in there because Duren's in foul trouble. Stu's ejected, so he has to play him. 7 minutes. He's 4 for 5, 1 for 2 on threes, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 huge block, and it doesn't even show everything that he does. There was a ball, an offensive rebound on us that kicked out all the way out to the sideline. B-Ball Paul hustles his butt off all the way out to the sideline from under the basket, and he forces a Buck player to knock it out of bounds. And, I don't know. Green made some big buckets in the fourth quarter, so it's just not just about Green. But Green gets to play no matter what. He's earned it. But B-Ball Paul doesn't earn it. He just is they always say the break the glass door on the fire extinguisher, if you're desperate. But I don't understand that, JB. So, I guess the only Good news. So I'm watching this game, and I think when we got the big lead, and they don't have their team's crap. They hadn't won any games since Giannis has been hurt, and then even when he came back one game, they still lost. But we're up. 30-12. And they're got this depleted team, and everybody should play a zone against Detroit. I'm not giving them a secret because everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to watch that game. And hopefully Duncan Robinson comes back so we have another shooter. But I'm watching this game and I'm looking at the scoreboard around the league, and the Cavs get blown out by the Blazers, 122-110 in Cleveland. Well, that's great. The only problem is we've got to play the Blazers Friday night. So that's, they got a good team. They got some good players, and we'll see. And then the Spurs beat the Magic. The Spurs led. It was a pretty close game, but the Spurs led most of the way. It got tied right at the end, 112-112, and then the Spurs won at the end. I haven't seen the highlights, but the Spurs won that game, beat the Magic. So that was cool. And then the Hawks got killed by the Clippers, and the Clippers have been losing every game. And then I thought that the Mavs beat the Heat, but I'm not positive on that. I wrote it down that the Mavs were 108 and the Heat were 118, but I think maybe the Mavs beat the Heat 118-108, but you can check that. So anyway, Asar played 25 minutes. He looked like he came out like his old self and was doing really good, but then he got 3 fouls with like 3 minutes left in the half, and that kind of put him on his heels, and he played 25 minutes, only 3 for 7, 4 for 6 on free throws, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers. Except the 2 turnovers, that's a really good game. That's a good stat line. But yeah, he was plus 21. Best plus minus on the team. Tobias, we should win a game. I think Greg said this afterwards. He was 5 for 8 on threes. And he's not that great a 3-point shooter, but he was 7 for 14. He played 29 minutes, 5 for 8 on threes, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 20 points, but he was -5. Jalen Duren only played 26 minutes and fouled out, 4 for 7. No free throws. He gets 6 fouls, but nobody fouls him. 8 points. He was plus 18. Daniss, 24 minutes, 2 for 8, 1 for 5 on threes. I just don't see how you can just keep on playing him. I know I give him chances from time to time, but I don't know. You can't play everybody. 1 rebound, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 7 points, -1. Cade, 35 minutes, 5 for 15, 1 for 7 on threes. It just kills us when you're a star player, when he has that kryptonite when he can't shoot a 3. He shot 3s. His shot looked so great in the preseason. His arc was up so high. And then the season started and he just flattened out. But 6 for 6 from the line, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. Only 2 turnovers by Cade. 17 points, plus 7. Jaden Ivey was amazing. He got up to 19 minutes instead of 14, and he was 5 for 10, 2 for 5 on threes. But one of those shots, so now in the NBA, if you hoist a half-court shot and miss it, it doesn't count against your shooting percentage. It counts as a team shot. But he shot a 3 that was way deep, and a guy was hanging all over him, but he had to shoot it because he got the ball late in the clock, and he had to just hoist it. So he should have been 2 for 4, but it ends up showing 2 for 5. But he played really well. He made a tough floater at the end in the fourth quarter, and he had 15 points in 19 minutes. So Stu played only 17 minutes. He's such a valuable player for us. 2 for 3, 1 for 1 on threes, 4 rebounds, and only 17 minutes. 0 assists, 1 steal, 5 points. Karis LeVert, a lot of us didn't like him, but he's played well. He shot well for the most part this year, but we needed him bad tonight. 23 minutes, 1 for 10 from the field, 1 for 8 on threes, 1 for 2 on free throws, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 points, -24. So that was hurtful. Ron had his best game last game, and today he fell right back down, like he was playing before. So he was 17 minutes, 2 for 10, 0 for 3 on threes, 1 for 1 on free throws, only 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 5 points, minus 17. And Javonte Green played 16 minutes. He was 3 for 6, 2 for 4. He knocked down his last 2 threes. Before that, he hadn't, but 1 for 1 on free throws, 1 turnover. But I already give B-ball pause, but we shot 40%, 32% from 3. We had those 14 turnovers, which is the lowest we've had, but 8 in the fourth quarter. Anyway, the truth is we've been not good for 5 games, and it's when all of a sudden we were winning those games, we were winning shorthanded, and then we get everybody back, and then we try to play all these guys, and that's when things went wrong. So is it a coincidence? Maybe partway, but a little bit of the same. But anyway, shout out to Eldon Campbell. I loved him. He played for the 2004 NBA champion Detroit Pistons. He was really long and strong and a great force off the bench. And, he really helped us. But sadly, he was only 57 years old. And, you never hear what was exactly wrong. But another thing that I guess Tobias, I didn't realize, because he was, I guess maybe the Bucks drafted him. But he went to, when I knew, he was in Orlando. That's who the Pistons traded when we got him the first time. But Doc Rivers, who coached him for several years with the Clippers, and then he coached him for a bunch of years with the 76ers. And he said, there's no better person, no player with more character than Tobias. And I believe that's true. Everything I've ever seen of him, both times he played with the Pistons, the way he conducts himself, the way that the other players respect him, and whether he plays good or bad, he always is a class act, and so that's good. So I have one last question for you guys. When I have Spectrum TV, and when I watch Piston games, not the pregame, not the halftime, but the regular game feed, it scrambles. It gets and tonight was the worst of all, but almost every game it gets like scrambled or pixeled or whatever you call it. And I just was wondering if you could leave me a comment if you have the same problem. But very disappointing game. I was so excited to watch them play tonight. I thought when we got that big lead, I thought we were going to be able to cruise and have a nice, relaxing night. All these teams in our conference in the East were losing. And so, but it was not to be. Anybody can beat you in the NBA, but that was a tough one to swallow. Like I said, we had a big lead, even not a big lead. We had a lead low in the fourth quarter, and we just choked it away, but we just couldn't handle the zone. We didn't have movement. We didn't have spacing. I don't know. They're going to look at it. So thank you for listening. Be the reason that someone feels cared for. Go Pistons.